Welcome back. My name is Candice Sanderson, and I want to share with you a strange dream that I had last night. When I woke up this morning, my first thoughts were, wow, that was really bizarre. It was a mixture of past events that seemed to swirl in the present and maybe even into the future. There were aspects of my past that I was trying so hard to escape. It wasn't anything really negative, but it was something I no longer wished to be a part of. I was back at work in the dream. I was lucid and I was awake enough to know this isn't right. I've already retired. Why am I back to work? But I couldn't do anything about it. In the dream, people started to come and see me. And the more people that came, I felt myself getting sick to my stomach. In the dream, I had to grab a bowl and throw up. It's like, yuck. There was another part of the dream where there was this giant insect coming in my direction. I realized the genesis of this. It was most likely triggered by a book that I'd looked at with Shalane that morning. My granddaughter Shalane had her fifth birthday yesterday, and we were going through this really large picture book that had these full page pictures of different animals. They had fish, insects, rodents, mammals, birds, and they had side by side pictures comparing them. For example, there was one side of a page with a moth that had these dots that looked like eyes on its wing. And on the other side of the page, there was an owl with his eyes that looked just like the eyes from the moth. And this, of course, was explaining how camouflage works, and the camouflage is part of the moth survival. So Shalane and I went through every single page. And when we got to the insects, they were sometimes hundreds of times larger than what they are in real life. Very, very detailed. Back to the dream with the giant insect coming toward me. There were people ahead of me, and they were all running, and they ran into this cave and rolled a huge stone in front of it. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's too late for me. What do I do? So I took a nosedive. I dove straight to the ground and just braced myself. I held my breath. I was waiting for this huge insect to make me its next meal. And then nothing, nothing happened. The next thing I knew, I looked to one side and this insect had taken a different path away from me. And I thought, phew. Now I've kept a dream journal for years, and many of my nighttime adventures are full of fun and fancy. Sometimes, quite often, I'll communicate with loved ones who have passed, but not so last night. I'm more likely to have these kind of bizarre and sometimes scary dreams as a result of something that's happening front and center in 3D reality. Now, it may not be something significant or monumental. Sometimes it's just a result of eating spicy foods. But I got up this morning, I started thinking about the dream. The part about me becoming sick when confronted with an uncomfortable position, that rang very true for me. I thought, what could I learn from this? When I'm in a situation that doesn't feel right, I listen to my gut, to my intuition, to my heart, and sometimes my body. And when this happens, it's time for me to release that which does not serve me. I do not want to carry any kind of stale or old energy from the past. It's time to let that go, literally. And when that happens, although it may not feel good as it happens, I feel much better. The giant monster insect chasing me, it was coming in my direction, but not necessarily chasing me. That was my interpretation. I threw myself on the ground, stomach first, and nothing happened. It went in the other direction. By lying in the prone position, I was grounded. I was as close to Mother Earth as I could get without digging a hole in the ground. When I look at both aspects of these dreams, I begin to realize their significance. For several months, I've been dealing with some unrelenting physical ailments. One thing happens, then another, and another, and another. Once I took a step back, I began paying closer attention to the underlying messages, not only about my lifetime, but played out so well in this dream. 3 takeaways: listen to my body, cast off that which doesn't serve me, and stay grounded. Listen to my body. When my back went out and I couldn't even sit up for a couple days, I thought, what's going on here? I finally, after a week or so, was able to get up and resume that 2 to 3 miles running every morning. And then guess what? My back went out again. Finally, it was time for me to listen to my body. So I began walking instead of running each morning. I slowed down. And when I did so, I started appreciating what was all around me. It had all gone unnoticed when I ran, but all of a sudden I started feeling the cool morning breeze. I could hear birds singing. I could hear insects buzzing by. I was on a nature hike and I would see butterflies and lizards and tortoises. I even heard the rustling in the swampy woods, and I turned around and saw a raccoon. And all of this had been unnoticed until I listened to my body. I slowed down. I didn't run. I chose to take a meditative walk instead, casting off that which doesn't serve me. As is true with many healing modalities, we are the conduit for the healing. Like in Reiki, we can help other people release their dis-ease, their disease. We stand proxy for them, working on their energy bodies to become healthy. But then we need to release all of that energy. We don't need to take on other people's dis-eases. We need to become aware that when that happens, to make a concerted effort to release. I realized this is what was happening in the dream. I didn't want to go back to work. Yep, I'm retired. So instead of hanging on to the past, I needed to let that energy go. Let me step into something that does serve me. I can learn from those experiences, and I can learn to integrate parts of those experiences into my current life. But I need to release that which won't and doesn't serve me. I only want to integrate that which I desire. And the third takeaway was staying grounded. So often I find myself out there floating among the ethers. I know the importance of being grounded, but if I'm not consciously doing so, I find myself floating out among the clouds. In the dream, when I literally hit the ground, nothing happened. That monstrous insect didn't eat me. That was all fear that stemmed not from the situation, it stemmed from me. So I realized as I literally stay grounded, I'm letting things happen the way they're meant to. That giant insect was headed in my direction, but it wasn't aggressive and searching for me. And I thought, I wish I could tell that to the group of people who hid in the cave. That's another great analogy of how blind we can become when we succumb to fears, especially if we're in a group of people who are living in fear. My dream journal is over 250,000 words long. And being a psychologist, you would think that I would analyze them, but I don't. I just document them. And often the messengers will ask me to review a specific dream, sometimes years before. And with all my documentation, it's easy to find them. Today, however, I was nudged to look a little further into this crazy dream. And when I did, I realized how significant it was. It was the validation for the recent conscious changes that I've made, the changes that allowed me to get past those physical ailments that had been haunting me. I needed a reset, a change. I needed to start with a clean slate and release that which didn't serve me. I knew that I needed grounding. And as I began to integrate these changes into my new lifestyle, my pain dissipated. I felt renewed, refreshed. I was starting again. Now, here's the rest of the story. After I documented this in my dream journal, I checked my email and I subscribed to a daily quote from Abraham Hicks. Here is today's quote. When you wake up in the morning, the cells of your body have pushed the reset button. And if you don't reintroduce negative beliefs that you have about your body or your ability as soon as you wake up, then you have a fresh start. I could only smile at this validation. Learn to trust your heart. Listen to your dreams. Sometimes bizarre dreams like this one that I had last night will provide invaluable insight. Take time to give your dreams some thought and see what happens. I hope you found this message to be helpful. Learn to trust your heart. Remember that kindness matters, and being kind to others as well as yourself is very important. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and sharing my messages. You can check out my website, CandiceSanderson.com, for more information, and check out my other 2 YouTube channels. Thank you. Until next time, bye.